unfortunately, because there's been a huge lack of research, consumers, businesses, I mean, everybody is severely confused about it. And often you'll hear UPF, interchanged with junk food as a term, for example. And actually, there are examples, and yogurt is a classic food type where actually a level of processing can be really, really good.
Welcome to the O for Food's Sake podcast, where we unwrap the joys and struggles of working in the food industry so you can thrive in what you do best while sustaining a rewarding and fulfilling career or business. We are your hosts, Lucy Wager, food industry consultant,
and Amy Wilkinson, food industry coach. We've worked in the food industry for the last 20 years, and we're here to share with you the benefit of our hindsight. Our podcast is for you to find new ways to cope with the daily struggles, but mostly to inspire you to work on what's not working to ultimately improve your career or business long term.
Hi everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of O for Food's Sake. Today we are joined by a wonderful guest. We have Tor Hunt-Taylor with us. She is the marketing director at The Collective. Welcome to the podcast.
Welcome, Tor.
Thank you both. Thank you for having me on.
Really excited for you to be here. So we always start with a tell us about how you ended up doing what you do.
Great question. Is it okay to start by saying that I fell into it, but I love it?
Yeah, most people do say that.
Yeah, lots of people say that.
It wasn't planned.
Brilliant. Yeah. I had a rough idea. Yes. So I definitely tried a few little things before my current career started. But I guess my first role in FMCG or CPG, so, consumer packaged goods and things you can buy in the supermarket, was when I did a graduate scheme at Was United Biscuits. So McVitie's, Jacob's Snacking, all those kind of household favourite brands. I did the graduate scheme there and I worked there for about 5 years. And on the graduate scheme, I actually did more HR. And because I basically have a love of people and all things people, still do. But realised I kind of got a little view of every function from that standpoint and realised that actually what I really, really wanted to do is marketing and branding, which I had a hunch on a few years prior, but I had worked in a different industry when I worked in New York for just over a year. I got completely told, don't do that, you'll just be doing X, Y, Z. Actually, I realised in each sector, it's such a broad term. But,
yeah, it is. It means such different things, doesn't it? And different,
Yeah, it means so many things, but I realised that I really love what it means in this industry anyway, and food and drink.
It's really interesting. Sorry to interrupt, but I'm excited and interested because it's really interesting because not everybody would see that link between HR and marketing, but having effectively gone the other way, not that I do HR, but I do learning and development now. Yes. I really see the link. It's about understanding people, isn't it?
Yeah. Yes, it's absolutely. The psychology of what makes people tick.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So I learned loads doing both. Obviously one for a much shorter time span than the other, but I just love, and it's very unscientific, but there's a kind of left brain, right brain element of the kind of marketing that I work in. When you're working with data, stats and research, but you're also using very creative side of your brain and having to follow your gut. And that just really works well for me. I love that mixture. A lot of roles are kind of more one or the other.
Yeah.
I quite love doing something where it's a bit of both and maybe just more variety. But so yes, I started in a really, really big company, a corporate, very UK focused, but really, really big, very much bottom of the pile role. So I had the portfolio of brands with the smallest level of marketing investment, chocolate biscuit bars and yum. And, quite small marketing, but it's actually most of my time was spent on, commercial reporting on performance and that kind of thing. And then it really was a case of, as you get promoted and progressed and move on to different portfolios of brands and products, you get more marketing spend and eventually you get to do the exciting campaigns and things like that. So you kind of earned your stripes and climbed your way up a bit in that respect. But it meant you really did get a solid commercial grounding and you have so much more research and data at your fingertips with big innovation teams. So I guess that was my foundation in terms of learning to do, how to do things properly or, the right way, or what does good practice or best practice look like. But part of a big team and maybe quite hard to make a difference or to move fast. It's quite bureaucratic, can be a bit slow and clunky, a lot of thinking and, discussing. And I suppose it's my personality, I quite like action. So I moved from there to a more medium-sized but more international company. So I worked in wine at Treasury Wine Estates and got to manage at first a portfolio of brands, probably the most expensive you'd buy in a supermarket. It's the easiest way to explain. But it's a really cool brand. And then Blossom Hill, a brand, I took a global role. which was great when we acquired that brand. But, we had some flagship premium brands in our portfolio, such as Penfold, which is such a great wine. So that was amazing. And, full marketing mix, really nice. I'd say within the UK, kind of more of a medium sized company. So really lovely people, values, team, everyone. It felt like you could really make a difference if you rolled your sleeves up and went for it. Yeah, like I said, great culture. I got paid to take my wine exams. I'm quite a passionate
That's
wino. Wine,
Yeah.
what's the word?
Wino.
I haven't got a red nose, so I'm
You
on the
don't
right
like
side
a
of that.
wino.
So yeah, I got to learn why I like the wines I do and what, how foods affect them. And so that was an absolute, they talk about combining your passions with your career. So that's an absolute highlight. And also got to be involved with the UK launch of some quite, now big challenger brands like 19 Crimes Wine, getting kind of guys in their 30s into wine for the first time, taking the approach of that maybe they had been taken in beer and gin already. So that was really, really interesting and definitely piqued my interest for, how do you do things when you're the real challenger brand of the category kind of way. And that's when I got a phone call asking if I wanted to come and join Method and Ecover, which was then People Against Dirty, as the head of UK brand. And obviously Method is all about making sustainability sexy with its, bold colours and amazing fragrances. And Ecover is the more kind of purist, eco warrior, brand. And so I went and joined them. And that was a real career learning of how do you do things the challenger brand way. And I mean, long story short, it felt like if you do everything the opposite way that you ever been taught, and whatever's made you successful, tip it on its head, do the exact opposite, and that's how you win. And it sounds a bit, I don't know, obvious or cliche, but that really, it's
and
like.
How did you learn that? Did you learn that from doing it backwards?
And just the kind of learning for people who'd already been there for a few years. But also you have a great network. What I learned is when you work in a small business or brand, or the B Corp community is great for this as well, which I'll come on to later. There's a great network, and connecting, reaching out is just so much more normal in a small business. But yeah, I had some, even my kind of European general manager at the time, was a real, stickler for, detail and what makes the brand distinct and different, even though he was from a commercial background. And similarly, we had lots of people in different brand roles across Europe who you could tell everyone was really, really passionate about doing things the challenger brand way and being disruptive and bold and different. And so it was amazing. It was also a hard place to work. Like everyone wanted to be involved in the exciting stuff. And often in small companies, there's a lot of confusion about, roles, responsibilities, it was such, so you have to be okay with that. A lot of people get out straight away. They're like, oh no, I need the safety of a big corporate where everyone's lane is really clearly marked. And it's kind of the opposite of that. But I guess that's maybe where some of the magic comes from. So that was amazing. Was there for, 4 or so years. And eventually People Against Dirty got acquired by ST Johnson. And I knew at that point, I was like, definitely want to work in small brands with fast growth, scale ups, doing things disruptive and different. I'm quite comfortable with going with gut feel. Not for every decision, obviously, but I love being able to just test stuff, fail fast, learn fast, go again and win. And, I guess, it's just everything about being the challenge of the category, but it's more exciting and the kind of agile way of working.
Yeah, and not usually acceptable in larger business.
No.
Not accepted in larger businesses.
I know.
Like, we need to look at 600 different data points and
exactly.
do a risk assessment.
People.
But you can't afford that data and that research. Obviously, so you do use a bit of instinct, gut feel, or kind of use off about where you learn about what's going on in, other categories or, trends more broadly. And you have to follow your nose a bit. You don't have all that at your fingertips. So, which for a lot of people is really uncomfortable, I appreciate. And every now and again you make a mistake, but the culture is generally that's okay.
It's allowable.
Pick up ourselves off, learn and move on quickly.
And do you think there is a certain kind of person that is able to do that and work in that environment? Like you say, it's not for everybody. And I've never been in a real I've worked with startups, but I've never been like apart from my own, I guess.
Yes.
So it's part of that kind of mentality. But there's advantages and disadvantages to working in both, right? Isn't there?
Absolutely.
And I know, I went to an SME for a few years and got frustrated with the lack of information, data, this, that, and the other, and wanted to go back to the big boys. But then a few years in, I'm like, oh God, no! Can we just make a decision without 600 people?
Nothing's perfect, is it?
Nothing's perfect.
The grass is always greener, and there's benefits to it all.
Yeah. But you kind of by that point had solidly gone, I want to work in a smaller business.
Yeah, or at least right now with where I am in life, everyone's got the right to go through different phases and eras of their life. So right now, that's absolutely what floats my boat and what I've been loving doing at the collective, which is where I went next, where I am now.
So how long have you been there?
3.5 years, I think it is now. Yes. Yeah.
And quite a lot has happened in those 3.5 years, hasn't it?
Yes. We've had an amazing couple of years. So I joined as marketing director. We never had a permanent or long-term marketing director before. So for me, it was a bit of a dream brief, a dream role. It was very much build a strategy, build a clear, marketing plan and marketing, brand strategy, be the voice of the consumer and the voice of the brand, and build a great team that can execute against that. And although we already had great foundations in terms of, epic products and some definite kind of, I guess, brand assets or, iconography on the pots and packs that were in market, nobody had really done that whole job before. And we were probably at that point of change, as a business where do you go from founder-led to, experience in the industry, leadership team led.
Because when was the collective launched?
Well, in the UK, we were 13 years ago now. Yeah.
Wow, yeah. Because it feels like, to me, it feels like quite an established challenger brand. Like it was one of the early challenger brands. It's not a baby anyway. It's a teenager.
No,
now,
we're in our teens. Exactly.
Yeah,
we're in our teens and I guess we're hitting another major growth spurt.
Yeah.
With all the great things and challenges of that. But so we first launched with our obviously big tubs of gourmet, which is the layered products, and they were really unique in so many ways. And then the kids suckies came to market about 10 years ago, and the first people ever to put kids yogurt in a pouch. And so we very much, we call ourselves the dairy shaker uppers, and we're always challenging the category norms, trying to be the antidote to boring, whether it's our marketing campaigns or the product that hits shelf. And so it's really, really exciting. And we've grown brand awareness. We've kind of gone for a bigger, better approach. So we've really been focused. Our brand awareness is up about 175% now, because we just had a consistent campaign. It's very insight-led, like consumer insight-led and humorous, like leveraging our tone of voice. That was already really clear and distinct. It's like, how do we leverage that? So really focused on doing that. And this kind of consistency mantra, but then trying to save, maybe 10% of our effort and budget for bringing new sparkle whenever the opportunity presents, the magic dust. Yeah.
I think the collective is a really good example of a brand that's gone into like a really noisy category and done something quite different. It is just yogurt at the end of the day, but it's a really elevated yogurt. Because I remember I had some in my fridge and my dad tried it and he was like, oh my God, what is this? This is absolutely amazing. And then he went back to where he lives and he FaceTimed me and said, I can't find this yogurt that I had. Can you help me find it? And because it is such a busy category, isn't it?
It is very busy, and it's been a bit boring and stale for a while in some areas. I can come on and talk about kind of the big innovation year we're having, but it's very busy, and you really have to cut through, not just by being bold and distinctive, but what are you offering shoppers? What are you offering consumers is different? And I think that's the crux of why a lot of innovation succeeds or fails. And obviously there's multiple elements and variables, but and in terms of it being quite boring and unchanged, we've just launched our adult pouch range. We've taken what we're famous for on kids, like healthy but delicious and really nutritious pouches, which are convenient snacking for kids, which they're very much the kind of jewel in our crown. They growing 20% faster than the average kids growth in the category of Saki's yogurts. And so we've taken the learnings there, but also looking at what's going on in the adult or the family part of the category that's non-kids, and why is it not doing as well. And the trends are just so clear. There's big growth in health, big growth in snacking, and then outside the category trends, it's very much our brand starts on health, like holistic and balanced well-being. We talk about mind, gut and soul, and some movement in like real functional protein plays. We thought, hang on a minute, there's really an opportunity here to have some kind of healthy snacking proposition for adults that's got all these different, I guess we call them need states internally, but different consumer health needs, whether it's mental or physical, and emotional sustenance or anything else. So we've got all these different need states. We just launched a range, including the dairy-free one, of 7 adult yogurt patches that are bigger and very health-led, but also great tasting. So we're really, really proud. It's the biggest innovation we've done since we hit the UK 13 years ago.
Wow,
so
they look fantastic.
really.
We are getting samples. We just haven't got them in time.
I know.
That's my fault.
All good, don't worry. But I'm excited for you to try them. We're really pleased. Sainsbury's have backed us the hills and taken the whole range. So they're looking amazing and disrupting the shelves. Hopefully you'll agree if you've seen them in Sainsbury's.
Yeah, they look, I haven't seen them on shelf, but they look fantastic from the images that I've seen. But I've also just got to talk about the campaign that you're doing.
Oh, yes.
It's so funny. Have you seen it, Amy?
No, I haven't. Tell me about it.
Well, it stays quite focused in London and the Southeast. Obviously, challenger
Okay.
brand budget means we can't do the whole UK at once.
Yeah, yeah.
Hopefully, it will come
But
to you
just seeing
soon.
it. But I think just seeing it on social media,
Yeah,
like the reactions. Explain what it is,
Oh,
because I'm sure you're
yeah,
doing.
yeah. So yeah, that was what I was talking about earlier about. So it's we're all about driving brand awareness. You've got to be careful not to try and do too many jobs at once when you're focusing on like out of home media as your channel. And it is basically mainly big billboard posters. But so yeah, about driving brand and product awareness. And essentially we've taken consumer insights and on our kids range parenting insights and just worked with our creative agency to turn them into really hilarious headlines. So I think on the adult pouch we've got if wine can be in pouches, so can yogurt. And then there's one that's just on the tube that's tastier than your tube crush. And we had one that was see it, say it, flirt it.
Yeah, that was good.
Oh, and another adult one, hanger management. So really tapping those knowing snacking moments. Like, what happens if you don't get that in time? And then on the
That's
kids
the one
range,
for me, isn't it?
I think we've all suffered from being hangry once or twice. And then on the kids, I think the ones we're proudest of on kids, we've got one that says silence without suspicion. And obviously, and then a moment's peace without hiding in the loo, which really spoke to me as a mom of youngest. So that's the gist of it. But it's all these different. The campaign consists of all these different headlines, and they hero different parts of our core range on the poster, obviously. But it's all just taking consumer insights and telling humour in our brand tone of voice. Because that kind of, when you haven't got the same budgets as some of the giants, in our industry, who literally can spend 20 times more than you kind of have to outwit or outsmart rather than outspend. And so we've kind of very much gone for these, high salience, high humour campaign, headlines and approach to our campaign in general, but, rather than having something that's maybe a bit more vanilla in the creative, but it's in 20 more locations. So that's how we're trying to kind of cut through and I guess engage our consumers, not just sell and flog to them. So showing that we kind of understand and we've got them and can we have a little giggle together? Yeah.
But I love that as well. And I do think that's part of the thing around challenger brands and brands like The Collective that have got that tone of voice. It's like you sort of create that. It's almost like a dialogue with your consumer, isn't it? It's like
exactly
it's
that.
just and then you get that brand loyalty.
Well.
I mean, we always say we genuinely are such a human brand. There's only 30 something of us. We're not a huge business. I think people who've grown up with us might think we're bigger than we are. So it is just a lovely team of awesome humans, and we've got loads of we call them kind of co-conspirators, like creative collaborators that we work with, and we do have a lot of fun in the process. And it's exactly that. We get such lovely love from our consumers. They email in the whole time, and on LinkedIn recently, which obviously a lot of people say, oh, LinkedIn's not a social channel, but actually if a lot of your target audience had a lot of time on LinkedIn, it is a way of connecting. We had so many lovely thought pieces about our campaign and also some healthy debate. We're all here for that as well. But the campaigns received a lot of love this autumn. So we're chuffed with it. Thank you.
No, and I saw the one where you've got like a booth where you're using AI to...
yes. So
that was so funny.
Exactly that. So the biggest part of the campaign is the out-of-home posters, but exactly that we've gone quite big on digital, and we did a really cool piece, a digital activation where I guess it was a bit of a prank. We got people in pairs, and one of the pair was in on it and one wasn't, and they came across our our booth in a shopping centre, and it was to tell them what their perfect snack was based on an AI trawl of their social accounts and all sorts of things. And it was great fun, and obviously completely weirded out whoever's on the end of it. At the end, they got dispatched the yogurt that best suited whatever they need. So there's the kickstart one if someone had needed a better breakfast, it's got oats, and there was the gut one if they had talked about something about following gut feel or instinct or having digestion issues. And there was I think
there was a lady whose boss started calling her because she had that was so funny. But I just thought it was so clever because it was like it really humanized it, but it was so in line with what you see on social media. But
that's so good to hear. That's so good to hear.
Relevant. I love that.
It's hard when one thing that you can fall victim to, I think, when you have quite a small business and small team, is that everyone's just so busy and working so hard that you can put loads of different stuff out there because one person's really trying to own social media, and none of it's cohesive and none of it comes together. And I've experienced that in other small companies, and similarly you can be in the big corporates where you just do one thing and you do it really, really consistently, but it gets a bit boring because where's the magic or the fun and so that's exactly the aim of that. So we worked with our partners at Goon Squad, who are a great bunch of guys and girls to do that one, and we had such a laugh on the day. I mean, Mike, who I think he's around 90. He was brilliant. He ended up doing the Macarena.
That's so sweet. Yeah,
the girl who was her 30th birthday, she did an uplift. She actually got a ticket. She got an airline ticket, not just the yogurt pouch. So yeah, we had great fun with it. And that was indeed, when I talk about saving 10% for some kind of sparkle or magic that goes beyond what maybe an afternoon campaign did, that was exactly it. Our digital activation.
But it's so clever because there's so much other content that you can use from that, because it can be reshared, and we're talking about it now. It's just, it creates that noise about the brand, doesn't it?
Exactly. And we got a great organic reach from that, so we were really proud. Definitely our best ever. So yeah, we were really proud of that one.
Great.
All right, folks, we're going to take a quick breather here to hear from our fantastic sponsors. They help keep the podcast going, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Are you a food manufacturing business? Is your customer service team pushed to the limit over the festive period? This shouldn't be the case.
Meze is a branded online ordering and customer service platform that lets your customers place, amend, and track their orders at any time, on any device. An Amazon-like experience. Tiffin Sandwiches has already saved over £100,000 in efficiencies this year.
Meze is easy to set up and it connects to your other systems. Visit the website to book a no-strings demo. Go to meze.io. That's MEZZE.io. Meze, Amazon-like ordering for your customers. And we're back. Thanks for sticking with us. Let's dive right back in.
So I know when we spoke, we talked about your personal, like you found your personal niche in terms of the enjoyment you get from challenger brands, but we talked about B Corps, and I was having a conversation with someone else actually about B Corps, and it's not an area of the industry that I've spent much time in, but the more I'm talking to people, it sounds like a really great networking place with people that are like-minded, open to helping, supporting each other.
Yes, absolutely. So, I mean, B Corp, I'd say they would describe themselves as a movement, and it's kind of about using business as a force for good. And yeah, the community is great because I guess everybody comes from the same place in terms of every business. I don't know if morally is the right word, but, everyone wants to leave the world in a better place or improve, your impact. And so for us, we ultimately, I don't know how much you know about it, but, you basically have a B Corp score and you go through a certification process, 200 different questions. And at the end of it, you get scored and ranked against each of them. And if you score above, I think it's 88, you certify, but there's obviously still a lot of margin to continually improve because you could score up to 100. I mean, obviously there's no such thing as perfection. I don't think anyone has a score of 200. But so yeah, our mantra as a business is progress to perfection, and B Corp really helps with that, but also it's a balanced scorecard, and it's our way of basically measuring, it's our framework for measuring and setting our own progress internally. So like all things, nothing's perfect, and the bigger these movements get, the more people maybe will criticize them, but it covers environment, it covers customers, community, our own employees, and also governance and how we run ourselves as a business. So it's not just environmental sustainability or whatnot. It really is full system and full business thinker. Yeah, holistic, exactly. So we very much use it as our measurement framework, and we can't find a better approach to it. So we're going to continue doing it until we do. And the community is really supportive, really great. I've worked at other B Corps in the past and this one where you help others certify. So it's completely not competitive. It doesn't even, even if someone in dairy picked up the phone and said, how do we certify? We would help them, not, keep it to ourselves. So very much that mantra of the greater good. And yeah, last year we improved our score 30%. So we were so proud as a dairy brand to do that. So yeah.
How did you do that? On what measures?
Yeah, so there's a combination of progress on our plastic and carbon targets, but also things like employee training and development agenda. So working on the team's careers, upping our focus on diversity, increasing our volunteering hours. So everyone's allowed to do 2 days minimum per year. And also using customer feedback in our product design. So across the whole board, actually. So yeah, and that's the important thing. And I think they will eventually evolve the framework so that there's also a minimum score you have to have in every single area, not a total minimum score. But it's really holistic. And so yeah, we made great movement across the lot, but including things like packaging recyclability and progress on against our carbon targets.
I know when we had our initial conversation, because I'm like, I've got a sustainability mindset just because I'm doing loads of stuff on sustainability. And
Brilliant.
Amy's
I love that.
Lucy's going to ask a question about sustainability
Yeah,
now.
go for it.
I was doing something yesterday and it was to do with ESG as well. So I'm a lot more
there you are,
informed
see?
than I used to be. So it's good.
And I know there's somebody within the business that specifically, or he is the head of sustainability.
Well, I mean, we don't have a head of sustainability. We think it's everybody's responsibility, but we do have a great procurement and supply chain director who he definitely takes the lead on B Corp and our certification and keeping everyone up to date on how we're doing against our targets. But yeah, that kind of just was an organic evolution of his role as we certified as a B Corp 4 years ago.
Okay, that's interesting.
But I think it's really important what you say about it being everybody's responsibility, because these conversations I was having yesterday, that was what was it was a judging thing, and what was standing out for us was that where you're actually everybody is responsible. You can't just pin it on one person.
It doesn't work otherwise. It can't work, can it? Because we've had Fran Haycock on the podcast as well, who's head of sustainability at Green Corp, and she was talking about the implementation of sustainability within Green Corp and how she's changed the way that's done, and people being champions within their departments. Because if you don't have that, it's lip service, isn't it? Because one person can't possibly be doing all those things. It's got to be coming from the top, but being fed from the ground up, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And there are people who are naturally super passionate about it. So for champions and leads,
and they can bring,
you're not short of volunteers. Yeah.
I also think, like, the more I get involved in it, it's having those conversations and networking and finding out what other people are doing. And
completely, it's really important.
Having that mindset of like greater good and
transparency, where we try to be incredibly transparent. Like, we know we're so far from perfect, but we know we have made great progress, and that's for us what it's all about. And
absolutely,
so you're silly not to use your network, whether it's B Corp or beyond. There are other things people are doing that are amazing. Every certified as a B Corp, but so it's just very much about kind of checking in and helping each other out and learning, what's the latest science or research or policy changing. It's impossible for any one person to keep up with unless you, There
really are some incredible things happening in the world around sustainability. And
the thing that we're, I guess, moving our focus onto next, I agree, it's constantly evolving. So we have targets to be carbon neutral by the end of 2025, and that was simply because we wanted to do something immediately. And so that's obviously an offsetting model, which isn't perfect, but even last year we offset 3 times more carbon than we did the year before, and that was awesome. But actually our focus and our conversation and what we're trying to do now is, obviously, dairy farming is incredibly carbon intensive, and a lot of people spend all their time talking about packaging, but actually milk is 70% of our carbon footprint. So we really, really are keen to move our focus onto regenerative farming and how to get closer to carbon zero. So by insetting carbon, not offsetting it. And so we work with people like First Milk, through our biggest manufacturer, to try and increase how much of our milk is coming from their regenerative farms. And that's all, focusing on actually biology and biodiversity and sequestering the carbon into the soil, which is completely about how you farm. And it's so difficult. Multi-generation farmers, they're very used to high intensity farming these days. That's kind of the big trend we're coming from, and I understand why, and this will be a focus on efficiency and profit. But actually there's a lot that we're learning now and continuing to learn about how compacted soil doesn't let water drain, it doesn't let carbon sink, and actually you lose all your worms and your beetles, and if you've lost your hedgerow and your birds and your bats, all these things, like you need that biodiversity. And through doing that, there are some really great studies coming through now from farms who have converted to be regenerative that shows actually the impact of soil sequestration. And there are all sorts of studies and films now that say, actually, if all farms are regenerative, that might solve a huge chunk, like 60 or 70% of the carbon problem. Is huge. So we are really thinking on that and working on that and working through First Milk with our suppliers. So our goal actually now is just to try and increase how much of our milk comes from farms that use regenerative practices. But we're learning new things about it every day. So that's now where we've been turning our attention internally to figure out actually, what is the best we can do and the right thing to do. And so fascinating. I'm learning more every day. I love visiting the farms. I've done a few farm visits, and it's amazing speaking to the really brave farmers who've, converted their farms or their, family farms when it's just almost a faux pas until people understand and start getting results.
Because it's a big, they feel like it's a big risk, don't they?
Oh,
Because it's a
massively.
bit venturing into the unknown, isn't it?
If betting the farm ever felt like an apt
Yeah,
term.
yeah,
yeah. Yeah. So I do appreciate what it must be like being on the farming side of it. But as I said, there are some farms who adopted these practices a few years ago, and there are results coming through on those farms and to, so yeah, I think that's a really, really exciting. It'll be a nightmare getting policy and everything to catch up and, what do you have to measure? It's got to be your net emissions, not your gross. I won't go down that rabbit hole right now, but we really do think at the collective it's where the future's at, for dairy.
And I think for the farmers to be brave and take that step, it's really useful to know that brands are wanting to go that way, because it's like the supply and demand has to be there, doesn't it?
Absolutely. There needs to be the support. Yeah. And it's challenging because the consumer wants to do the right thing, but it's not their drive. It's not their first reason to buy. They still want the products to be the right price and taste good. We've done a lot of research on that. There's a lot of things that come above it. But it's also an understanding thing. It's how do you communicate it? So you have to communicate it so clearly and simply. And actually, to some people, the big draw might be about bird life coming back, not about, the 10 different points of regenerative farming.
Yeah, and it's different for different people, isn't it, at different stages? But that sounds really exciting.
It is exciting. Keep an eye on it.
Yeah. The other topic that we're interested in on the podcast is about ultra-processed food.
Yes. It's a hot one.
Yeah. What's your personal
what about
view?
It?
And, how are you tackling that one?
Yeah, well, so obviously the House of Lords inquiry recently came out, which is quite helpful, which is still very much focusing on HFSS. And luckily all of our products, or 98% of our products at the collective, are non-HFSS. So we've deliberately left our fudge gourmet as non-compliant because we should believe it should be left as is. But all of our fruited and plain yogurt is completely, compliant and non-HFSS. But essentially, it's just not clearly defined and there's not been any adequate research. So our stance is that extensive research is required before anything could ever be, woven into policy. And unfortunately, because there's been a huge lack of research, consumers, businesses, everybody is severely confused about it. And often you'll hear UPF, interchange with junk food as a term, for example. And actually, there are examples, and yogurt is a classic food type where actually a level of processing can be really, really good. If you're adding nutrients, you're adding live cultures or adding just fruit, actually, is that bad? Is it a more nutrient dense food than another snack that you might choose or give your child? It's really, really difficult. And it's kind of been posed as kind of two binary things, nutritional value and processing, and they're separate. Something can be a bit processed but have a really high nutritional density. So a lot more research is needed before any recommendations can be made, any policy. And most businesses like us, if there was research and proof that this nutrient or this type of protein is bad, I think everyone would everything they could to remove it or steer clear from it. But I think, there's been other interesting stuff in the press recently. I saw at King's College London that, there was a big thing in the press a few days ago about how there's a ridiculous rise in cancers under the age of 50. And they're really looking, I think £20 million has been invested now into this kind of funded research team to understand, well, what are the non-conventional causes of those? So not looking at the traditional things like exercise, diet and weight, because a lot of the people appear very fit and healthy, but more, have they consumed a much more UPF heavy diet, or have they taken many antibiotics in their lifetime, or is it, air pollution? So that's really, really fascinating. And if anything, again, came out of that research, businesses like us, we'd jump all over, okay, fine, we know we can't use that anymore. But we only put things in a product that is really needed, and we always question, well, what's the minimum amount we can get away with? We like to have a short ingredients list as possible. We like everything to be a recognised or store cupboard ingredient. So don't really agree at the moment with the current NOVA classification. It's too basic and it's not researched enough. I'm really glad it hasn't yet formed policy. It kind of needs more grounding in science. And as I said, we take as a brand stance quite a holistic and balanced view on health and well-being. So we're already really careful. We've been on a massive push, across our total brand in the last 3 or 4 years. I think we've reduced about 46% of sugar from all of our products. And on kids, we've got market leading growth because of our stealth sugar reduction, because we have a no added sugar range, and all that was tasting great still. And I think luckily most parents, most of our target consumers recognise that you've got to take a more holistic view on nutrition, and until the proof is there. But consumers are definitely getting more worried about it, and rightly so they should, because it needs researching.
Yeah. But I think you're right. It's just at the moment, it's not clearly defined. We don't know for sure. Yes, there's been a book written and lots of different studies brought together. and there's lots of anecdotal stuff out there, but everybody's different, aren't they? And we need actual research and data before
Absolutely.
there's
Yeah.
knee-jerk reactions to it all.
Yeah, but for me as a consumer, of course, it's worrying. You can't dodge reading or hearing about it these days, and so just desperate for more research to happen, so that some good guidance and policy can be given to businesses and to consumers. But at the moment, we just steer clear of anything we don't need to use. We've never used brand artificial colours or preservatives and things like that, and we just try and keep it as a short ingredients deck as possible. And if there is processing, it's more to fortify or to add value from a nutritional point of view. So I feel like we're on the right side of it, but we need research.
Yeah, and that's the thing, isn't it? Even when you're on the right side of it, you're still at risk of people thinking that you're not because of the lack of information. That's the frustrating thing, isn't it? That is the frustrating thing.
And even, Dr. Tim Spector, I think in his early days, he really criticised fruited yogurts, but obviously he's now launched his, Zoe fruited shots. So I think even there, maybe there's a bit of evolved thinking of define process.
Yeah.
Well, and also when you overlay like a lot of your consumers or not your consumers, your customers are parents, children are consuming it, like if we have to put a bit of fruit in something to get our kids to eat it, we all know that we will do it, sweeten it up with a bit of something. Yeah. That is better than the meat. We know that's better than them eating a chocolate bar, there's some stuff that's common sense, and actually everything is compromise, isn't it?
And you want them to eat it. You don't want to buy things that they're not going to eat because it's
wasteful.
Then you feel guilt about food waste.
Wasting money. And
sorry, I was just thinking about when we had our call, I remember saying like sometimes my kids will like open one of the collective pouches and not finish it, and then I finish it. I love it. I was like, I am definitely going to buy the adult pouches.
Well, honestly, one of our first insights on the adult pouches was from parents setting up. They'd often email us in, or say on social media, I do steal my kids' suckies. They're just not big enough. Comment. I think because if you think about it, if you look at what else you might have in your kitchen, all the other things you could reach for, especially now we all work from home a bit more, are probably far worse. So I think you probably feel you've done quite well if you sold in your kids' suckies yogurt.
Absolutely. So what's next for the collective, and what's coming next?
What's coming next? So you probably wouldn't have seen this yet because it's mainly only been in trade press so far, but we are obviously with our market leading kids growth, we are only in what's called handheld in industry lingo, which is our Saki's pouches. So we've just announced that we're launching into pots, which is really, really kind of small pots, 6 packs, but they're no added sugar, but they still taste amazing. And then they've all got these, I guess, value adds from a health point of view. So there's one that's, all about immunity. There's one that's all about gut health, and there'll be more to follow. So that's really, really exciting because we want to give parents, what they most want and what most concerned about. But obviously when you're not needing a convenience pouch or you're trying to do, teaching spoon feeding, and, we appreciate there's still a big market for pots as well. And so we're launching our kids pots. They're called Super Spoonies. The designs are so cute. I'm so proud of the team for what they've produced, both in terms of packaging design and the product inside the pot. So that's coming. Ultimately, we want to leave a legacy all about health and improving the category and removing as many tons of sugar as we can from the category, in kids particularly, but also actually just total, but without compromising on taste. And that's, I think, our brand. The thing that we own as a brand is like we're careful and slow and conscious about it because we, as you just said, as we fully appreciate it doesn't taste really, really good, and what people need in that moment, they're not going to finish it or buy it again. So you're not, who are you catering for? So definitely want to continue on that legacy. And, I think we calculated that if we replace some other, the average weighted, sugar by, volume, if 2 of our multi-packs replaced the category average on sugar, the total market, if every retailer listed it, is about 200 tons of sugar we could take out of the kids yogurt category with these pods. So super excited if that is the legacy. That's definitely our mission, and we've got Tesco's taking them in early next year, and hopefully other retailers are going to follow soon. So that's really exciting. We've also done a lot working on our company, values and culture. The last 2 years, we've won Sunday Times Best Place to Work. So I think we want to be an amazing employer brand as well. We want to be somewhere people love working and are really happy to work. We have all but one of our leadership team are female, so really appreciate what it's like to be a working parent. And I've got 2 young ones myself, and Yeah, so we want to continue to be an amazing employer and really champion what flexible working means for each individual. And we don't want to keep women of a certain age out of top roles or out of the workforce, which sadly I believe is what happens when you say everyone has to be in the office from 8 till 6 every day of the week. Working full time can come in different guises. So keep improving on our sustainability, goals. Like I said, how much of our milk is from regenerative farms, and hopefully just really own healthy snacking in adults. Now we've launched our pouches for grown-ups. Hopefully lead a bit of a revolution within the, within yogurt, make people see, it is actually an inherently healthy good. And I can now go to the yogurt aisle to get myself some really healthy, fresh snacks. All of our yogurt's alive. So if people start seeing yogurt again as a healthy snacking destination, we'd be delighted if that was because of the, us triggering that process and being the dairy shaker uppers true to our cause.
Yeah. Really exciting times ahead.
It is. I can't wait. I can't wait to try the product.
Yeah.
Me too. Me too. I have to let me know which one's the most you. I think this time of year for me, I'm probably eating more of the immunity one. The Restore one is also really delicious. It's all the kind of, what is it, apple, kiwi, spirulina. So depends if you go by your health need or your flavour. Yeah.
It sounds a bit like when you go for a massage and they get you to smell which oil. I think I'm going to do it.
Bespoke, exactly.
Because I definitely think, because apple, kiwi and spirulina isn't doing it for me from a flavour perspective, but I definitely probably do need to be restored. That's what my body needs.
That's all the kind of the D and the muscle maintenance support. But I mean, it's a great range. The product team have done amazing on flavour delivery, and keen to hear which is your favourite. I mean, I imagine there's different times of your day and your week where different ones might speak to you in terms of which you need to sort of self-care, but what you need at what point in time. Oh,
it sounds amazing. Thank you so much. And what's the best way for people to get in contact with you if they want to hear more?
Probably LinkedIn as a first port of call. So always feel free to reach out. I love hearing from people, especially if I've said something that resonates or if they think we might be able to work together. Love helping out other people, and similarly, I'm sure, long term, it's two-way. So LinkedIn.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much. I think you're going to be, I think lots of people will contact you and be interested. Hopefully there'll be a slurry of people.
I'm excited to get my daughter into these new yogurts.
Oh yeah,
the new year. We eat yogurt in every single packaging format available. Like, she is a yogurt fiend.
Love it.
I'm looking forward to it.
Brilliant.
And being able to reduce the sugar whilst we're doing it.
I know. It's an endless mission of a parent, isn't it? Debit and credit balanced across the week. So hopefully we've helped you. It was lovely to chat to you both. Thank you so much for having me on.
No problem. Thanks very much. And we'll see everybody next time.
See you next time.
Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed today's episode, please share it, rate and review us. It really helps us reach more food industry pros like you.
For more resources, head over to our website, overfoodsake.co.uk, and join our mailing list to stay in touch.
And if you'd like to connect with us, come say hello on LinkedIn. We're both there, Lucy Wager and Amy Wilkinson.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time.